Welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Box with your host and CEO of BabbleBox, Sherry Langberg. Sherry interviews the world's biggest brands, agencies, and influencers to uncover their influencer marketing secrets to success. Go behind the scenes and learn how you can make influencer marketing part of your social media playbook. Subscribe to Beyond the Box at podcast.babblebox.com. Listen to all of your favorite episodes and follow us on Instagram for more influencer marketing inspiration.
I'm privileged to have today's guest join us. If you haven't heard of Miss Megan, she's a teacher who stepped onto the scene at the onset of the corona pandemic, is now delighting and comforting thousands of kids and their parents everywhere. Welcome. Thanks, Miss Megan, for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So I want to go back into the Wayback Machine and pretend it's January 2020. Can you describe a day in your life?
So my life basically was driving kids to school and picking them up. I have a preschooler and a kindergartner this year. And so between drop-offs and pickups, and I also had a little part-time position as a teaching assistant at my preschooler's school. So between all of that and the extracurricular activities that my kindergartner was part of, it kept me pretty busy on a regular basis.
And then came March and something changed. Tell us what happened.
Well, obviously coronavirus came. And I think for a while, at least like towards the end of February, beginning of March, nobody really knew what all was happening with coronavirus as it relates to schools and closures. And here in Illinois, we had heard of some of the other states starting to kind of play around with what they're going to do with school. And as mid-March kind of approached, it was getting a bit more real, like that schools would likely, something was going to happen with them. And so it was right before St. Patrick's Day. My daughter's elementary school district made the decision that they were going to try this e-learning, and we thought it would just be for a couple of weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks to start with. And so my background is in early childhood. I have a master's in early childhood education. And so I was a kindergarten teacher before we had kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just really wanted for those 3 weeks to have something consistent in my girls' lives. And so I thought, I'm just going to grab some of my teaching materials, which I didn't have a whole lot of, but I had enough. And I'm just going to make a little morning routine, like something that I would do if I were in the classroom with a daily, what I called a morning message with calendar and weather and just a couple other things. And so I threw the idea out to 5 or 6 of my girlfriends, just because I thought it would be fun if my girls had their friends as part of this random learning thing that I thought maybe I could do. And they were really interested. And so I actually got really excited pulling out my old teaching materials, because it has been about 6 years since I've actually had my own classroom.
Uh-huh.
And so I got all that stuff out and ready, and I put a post up on my personal Facebook page just saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. If anybody's interested, I'll be here at 9 a.m. on Monday and I had it on my personal page. As the day went on, more and more people were expressing interest in joining. And so a friend was like, you might want to create a group or a page. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. Because I'm not the most tech savvy person. So anyway, she created a group for me, and it just really snowballed. And by Monday, I think I had thousands of people that had already joined the group without having even been live yet.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really cool. And that Sunday too, as I was watching numbers grow and grow, and it was going from 20s and 30s of people to hundreds of people to then thousands of people. I'm like, okay, I'm going to prepare myself. There's probably going to be people that are going to throw out negative comments because this group is getting bigger. And I had no clue that it was going to end up in the hundreds of thousands. I will say this is week 11, I think, and no negative comments so far. So it's been pretty amazing.
So I could tell you that the members of the Battle Box team, we always work from home, but now all of a sudden kids are not in school, and all of a sudden everyone's like, okay, it's March, whatever, we're going to Miss Megan's classroom. So it like hit like our team, and like then everyone's talking about you, and I'm like, we must talk to her. I want to know what's going
Aw.
on. Yeah. So it really helped a lot of our team as well and their kids. So how you jumped right away, I think I saw somewhere from 15,000 to over 85,000 fans.
Yeah, that was probably, so I think the first week went from 0 to like 40,000 people, and then after a couple weeks it jumped up to 80 some thousand people, and now we're at like 101,000
Oh my,
members.
how do you
Um,
manage the like all the attention? How do you manage it?
it was definitely crazy the first week, especially, and a week or two, because I gained like local coverage and some national coverage, and just lots of people reaching out. And I will tell you, the first week I was a bit overwhelmed
I'm
with
sure.
everything. But once and I also too, like, I'm not tech savvy, so like people would ask me like, "Hey, how do I cast this to my TV?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know how to cast it to your TV." So then I would try to like create a post of like technology questions so that people could help other people, because I didn't know how to help them. People were asking if I had a YouTube channel, and at that point I was like, I don't know how to make a YouTube channel, and B, like for some reason Facebook felt just a little bit safer than YouTube, but I don't even know if there's any grounds for that to stand on. So
No, I get it. I
and
get it.
I ended up creating a YouTube channel, and a lot of people have appreciated that, and I do too, because it's all the videos are in one spot as opposed to having to scroll through a bunch of stuff. So as the time has gone on, it's become a lot more manageable, and I've figured some things out. Like at the beginning, I figured out that I should how to allow basically not allow anybody to post anything, because at the beginning anybody could post anything on the group page, and so like everything was getting covered by people's posts, and people would have watch parties and those would get posted, and then people would be like, I can't find your live feed. I'm like, I don't know how to help you. It's worked itself out in terms of being manageable, and just kind of I do my hour. I have spend like a half an hour afterwards uploading to YouTube and making sure I check everybody's comments and all that stuff. So it's become a lot more manageable as I've figured it out.
We just ran an article on our blog called The Accidental Influencer. So it must be very exciting, and also like, how did this happen at the same time? What about your children? How are they adjusting to the new normal?
I think that well, in terms of understanding how big this is, they don't understand it. I try to show them videos or pictures that people send to me just so they can see. And like a lot of times the videos or pictures that people send will have us on their TV in the background. So like my girls can see that we're in other people's houses, but I don't think that they really understand the full capacity of what is going on.
No, I just like, how are they adjusting? But I guess it's just kind of like they don't really get it, which makes sense.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad that they don't get it, because it just protects their innocence a little bit more, I think.
My son doesn't understand what I do still, and he's 8. So we're always like, I mean, I can imagine like GMA called you and did a segment on you. One thing that I would love to know, like, and like, is this at a point where you would say, like, I'm going to go get an agent, or you just want to kind of do this on your own?
I mean, I haven't really thought too much about getting an agent, but it's definitely crossed my mind. I mean, if let's just say hypothetically PBS were to be like, "Hey, we love what you're doing. We'd love to have a new, I don't know, Blue's Clues show, but Miss Megan show." Like, would I jump on that? 100%.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm still in the, I think, trying to figure out stage. Like I also have my own music that's like something that's been kind of a dream of mine, to put out my own CD. I didn't realize it would be a children's CD, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I don't actually have a physical CD, but an album. And so there's just a lot of moving parts
Pieces.
for me personally that I'm still trying to sort out, which maybe an agent would be a good idea, but I haven't really
I definitely think that
gone there yet.
you're gonna have TV shows or someone coming your way to scoop this up. So
Well, that would be awesome.
hold on tight. Have you put any precautions or control mechanisms in place now that you've had such high visibility, like whether it's, blocking certain things or anything like that?
Yeah, at the very beginning when this was all just kind of snowballing, I had and well, actually before I even put it on a group page, I had lowered my Facebook privacy settings so that people could view it on my personal page.
Hmm.
And then when it started to snowball, I was like, oh, and I was just accepting friends like left and right, like, oh, they want to see my thing. Okay, great. And I wasn't really thinking too much about like safety stuff.
Oh, okay.
Um, but then, and I haven't had anything at all
Hmm.
negative go on, but I mean, I had all of my life's worth of Facebook pictures up on Facebook, and like from anywhere from college on, and tons of pictures of my girls. And so I went through a purge of pictures on Facebook, and I kept some up, just but not nearly the amount of pictures that I've acquired over the years. And it actually felt kind of good just to do like a deep clean of my personal page on Facebook. In terms of the group, I've set up a couple of just very general rules, like be kind, and no promotion of your own materials unless it's in a certain spot, and no spam and all that type of stuff. So I'm pretty good about checking all of their comments, and if there's
Hmm.
anything that, even like, I get a bunch of kids who will like just push buttons, and sometimes it ends up being like weird emojis that pop up, and I'll just hide that comment or delete that comment. And I think so far it's okay. So
That's great. Given what you're doing, what are some better ways that we can be engaging with our children during these trying times?
well, I think that a lot of parents are feeling super overwhelmed right now, myself included, definitely at time to time. And I think you just have to allow yourself to just be okay with it not being okay. I've definitely had to roll with the punches on my live show, and that's been a challenge at times when my children are being children and siblings. But I think that our children are also just really, it's a weird time for them, and they don't really understand it, and we don't really understand it. So, as best we can be there to help them through, like emotionally and mentally. Like, I know it's really hard for us to get off of our computers and to put the work down, but as much as it needed to be done in terms of work, especially those who are actually working and not staying, a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad or whomever. I think it's just really important that we make time to spend quality time with our kids during this time, because I've seen a whole bunch of things on social media about, and I do believe this. Our kids are going to be fine in terms of academics. Everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's not getting the same sort of intense education that they normally would be. So we're all in the same boat. And when we go back to school in September, whether it's e-learning again or a different way to do learning, it's going to be okay. And I think that right now people really need to focus on making sure that their kids' emotional needs are being met, because it is such a weird time. Sorry, that was totally a soapbox of mine.
No, it's interesting because we got notice here that camp is closed for the summer. So I had to tell my
Hmm.
son yesterday, and he said, "That's okay. I got to spend more time with you and Daddy." So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that they're all adapting in a different way, and I also think that it's bringing out a lot of just creativity in them, and
Hmm.
just different. They're learning in a different way. I mean, I'm trying to
Right.
teach my son home economics, which isn't going so well, but maybe he's still too young. So I guess the next question, are you being approached by brands and like toy companies and things like that saying like, can you work with us? And is that happening at this point?
I've had some educational learning companies reach out, not so much to promote their things, but just being like, hey, we really love what you're doing. Take a look at our website and see if there's something that you'd like
Hmm.
to to purchase, or we can purchase it for you. And I've been just really careful about I've actually chosen not to do any like direct brand, for lack of a better word, shout outs,
Hmm.
because I'm not ready to open that Pandora's box. So my live show, I actually got permission from some musicians to use their music, but I'm not comfortable monetizing anything
Hmm.
on my live feed, because I don't think that I don't think it's right. B, I don't think I can. And so I don't know how the brand shout outs, or if I were to get paid for a brand shout out, I don't know how that really would work. I have definitely done shout outs, but not for that brand. Just things that have worked for me, different teaching materials that people have asked about, like, oh, where did you get your months of the year words? I'm like, well, I've had them for 10 years, but let me see if I can look up who might have something like that.
Right.
And I try to give just a general, like, well, if you Google, I don't know, calendar chart, you'll probably have lots of choices. So I've just been trying to be careful not to do that.
Honestly, that sounds like a very wise move, because I think, then you cross over into like, being an influencer and you get paid, and then you have to like do all
Right,
the disclaimers, and this was an ad and
right,
this was sponsored. So
right.
very interesting that you've just maintained, the integrity of this, and, what your mission was for this. And it's really nice to see. So, you've touched so many lives all across, I guess, the country. I'm thinking the world at this point. What has been the most meaningful takeaway?
I think that just the fact that people are sending me messages about how this 1 hour has helped them in lots of different ways. Some ways might be um, their child has learned how to read some words, and they're like in tears because they had a speech delay, or whatever it may be in terms of actual education. That actually wasn't my goal when I decided to do this. The whole education aspect of it was not the forefront. The forefront was just simply to create routine and structure on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And so, especially when I hear things and comments back saying, we've been with you since the beginning. This has been a huge lifesaver for my child, in terms of it's been the one constant in their life in these past 3 months. And like that has just been like, I'm so thankful to hear those things, because that's why I did this in the first place, to
It's
create that routine and structure, because it's so important for our kids to have stability, and right now times are not stable. So I think that's been my biggest, when I read those things, I'm like, okay, good, like it's working.
You're
The
doing great.
academics will
Yeah.
come, and that's fine, but like I really just wanted to have this stability in other kids' lives, because a lot of kids don't, and not everybody's schools are doing anything online. And I think it's been great. Parents have been It's also nice in a parent world that I get feedback from parents saying, "Oh my gosh, it's like I have to parent my children for that hour as well, and not just be a teacher." So they see my the way that I parent
Right.
during that hour, and they're like, I've I've come across, or I've come away with a few different ways to possibly do things, and it's nice to see that you're having some of the same struggles that I'm having. And I'm like, yeah, like this is real. This is real life, and most likely I'm going to have the same types of issues in parenting as you are. So it's been nice to have just this community of parents that all kind of sort of feel like, all right, it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay for things not to go according to plan, and we'll just keep moving on.
I think you're keeping it real, which is amazing. And I think a lot of parents are just struggling about, the screen time and not being the perfect parent. And I think it's just very comforting to know that they could see the reality, and have somewhere to go every day for that hour.
Yeah.
What do you think the future of education, like what, like, could you say any thoughts of what you think September will look like or the future? Like, do you think it's going to be, we're going to move more to an online learning environment?
I don't know, but I can tell you, I feel like well, leading up to fall, I feel like right now, at least for me personally, it's like, okay, my mindset is that we're at the end of August and like I should be sending my kids to school soon because they've been home for 3 months. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I need to get out of that mindset because summer is about to start and I have another 3 months until September. As for September, I've been looking at some things online and reading some different ideas that might happen. And I mean, this virus is not going away. Like it's going to be here for a long time, in my opinion. And so I don't know. I think it will be really hard to continue having solely online learning. I think kids need to be with other kids. They need to be with other people besides their parents because they listen a lot better to their teachers than they do their parents. But I don't know if we're going to be able to be back with a class of 20 or 30 kids given how things have gone so far. So I don't know. I'm hoping that at least there could be like part e-learning and part classroom, and maybe they would have a smaller, or break the class into smaller sections and maybe do like, I don't know, 3 days a week with one section, 2 days a week with the other section, and then the next week flip flop that.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think schools are going to need to get creative with how they tackle the fall. But
Yeah,
I'm hopeful that we can send them to school in
I
some
know.
capacity.
Yeah, I feel like they need that socialization too. The education, but the socialization is what a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and especially for this age of kid, especially for my, the early
Yeah.
childhood age, like that social emotional aspect of school is like way more important than the academic part. And if
Hmm.
they're not getting that, then I think that we're going to see some behavior issues and emotional issues as they get a little bit older if we kind of are stripping them of that because we have to right now. So I don't know. My fingers are crossed, and I'm hoping for the best for the fall, but
We
have
all
to be
are.
real. Real.
Yeah, and we got to get through the summer.
That too. That too.
So, my last question is, what do you think the future holds for you, or what are your dreams for the future with all this? It's such a whirlwind story.
I know it's pretty crazy. I mean, like I said earlier, so this is probably way too much information than you need to know. But when I was growing up, I took dance lessons. I was in choir. I was kind of born to be in front of people. And so, which is kind of why I got into playing the guitar and doing open mics and then leading into teaching, which you're always in front of kids. So I feel like if something came along where it was using those talents to some capacity, whether it's going on a children's tour of the United States with some of my songs, like I, in that would be like a dream. Like I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but that would be a dream of mine. Another dream would be to have a TV show of my own. As it stands now, I will be teaching in the fall at my daughter's preschool part time. So we've got baby steps.
I'm going to tell you that I think all of these dreams are going to come true. I really do. And
Thanks.
if you ever need any help along the way, we're always here for you. But
Oh well, thank you.
you're doing amazing stuff for everyone, and it's just such an inspiring story. So keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's Beyond the Box, produced by Tough Monkey Entertainment. Beyond the Box is brought to you by BabbleBox with your host, Sherry Langbert. Visit podcast.babblebox.com for more episodes and influencer marketing secrets.